Last week, I made a video where I was testing out Webflow's AI site builder for the first time, and I noticed it was using something called Flowkit. So if I go to the style guide, we can see that there is Flowkit. Okay, maybe someone just needs to educate me on what Flowkit is. I had no idea what that was at the time, and I've now found out that that is Webflow's own class naming framework. The thing is, if I didn't know about it, a lot of you probably also didn't know about it. So what I wanted to do is I want to make a video going through the documentation and then trying to build a bit of a site, maybe like a hero section or something like that with Flowkit to see how it compares, and so that both you and me can figure out if this is something we want to explore more or if we're just going to stick to client first. Now, I want to start by saying I was searching far and wide, and the only place I can find to get started with Flowkit is this documentation right here. Now, I would love to have like some templates, a starter project, or something that I can kind of dive into and see how it works. Because, if you know me, I don't like reading or education for that matter, unless it's me testing something on my own. But anyways, in this case, all we have is the documentation. So Flowkit team, please make some starter projects for lazy people like me. All right, anyway, so here we are in the documentation, and what it gets into right off the bat is how to use hyphens and underscores. And I will say it is quite similar to client first in that regard, which for me is actually a great thing because it means I don't need to learn anything new. So for example, you use hyphens instead of spaces, because don't use spaces in your Webflow classes. Hot take. But anyway, so for example, like rich text, or if you're making something where it's like about us, you would use a hyphen for a space in that regard. And along with that, you can see right off the bat here is secondary. So they do combo classes also in a very similar way to client first, which I'm happy with. It's always worked well for me, so why would I not want that? Now, these modifiers for responsive, I don't really get that too much and how I would use that. That's probably just me. When I'm trying to do something specific for how it's going to look on mobile, for example, with client first, usually I'll just have a custom class, not a utility class, so it doesn't really matter. Now, that's probably not the best way to work with it, but that's the way I've been doing it with client first forever. So I don't really understand when I would use this. Maybe I'm going to see an example when I get into building. Next, we have underscores. And again, this is similar to client first in a way that I like and in a way that I'm used to. So for example, if you have like nav, you would just have nav, and then your logo would have the class nav underscore logo to indicate, like a folder, that this logo is a part of the nav. Same thing with card body, footer link, whatever it may be. And along with that, it says connecting utility properties with their values. So for example, let's say you had something where it was like a utility class to make it 100% width, you could use this right here, width underscore 100%, or in this example, 40%. Same thing, z index underscore 2. This is pretty good. This is very easy for me to understand, and I do think I would definitely use this. And here's something I can understand as well a little bit more is applying responsive variants of utility classes by adding breakpoint postfixes. So like, that sounds confusing if I just read it out loud, but like this example, text align underscore center underscore mobile. So this is like basically text align is the utility, and then after that underscore to indicate the value, center, and then another underscore to indicate mobile. So this is saying like align this text center on mobile. So you'd have to learn a lot of utility classes to be able to use this effectively. That being said, I could see this being very useful once you do know. And the thing is, it's never fun to learn a new framework. It could be fun actually. But anyways, so the cool thing is if this does save you time in the long run, it could be worth it to invest the time in the short term. So now we have different class types. So there's 4 main types of classes: component, utility, combo, responsive, modifiers. So those things we all pretty much went over already, and here are some examples. So card, for example, for your card body, anything inside of the card, exactly what I was saying like with client first, using these kind of nested folders. So these all make perfect sense. We're going to move on from there. Here's an example with nesting, as we can see. Here are the utility classes again, so you would indicate the utility, which is margin top, and then the value, which is medium. So I guess you could also do like margin top underscore medium underscore mobile, and then it would be saying, hey, add on mobile medium margin top. So that all makes perfect sense. And I do feel at home right now, there's clearly a lot more utility classes used in Flowkit than there is in client first, but I do believe that would save you time in the long run. Okay, so now we have an explanation for how combo classes worked. And like I said, is dash something is big, is small, is whatever. That is very similar to client first. That makes perfect sense to me. But in client first, as far as I'm aware, it pretty much stops there. It just is, and then whatever it is that you want to do. Now here we have on, we have gap, we have IX, that's fine. And then we have responsive modifiers, right? So let's take a look at some examples to understand this a little bit more, because I do not know what surface context modifiers means. That doesn't make any sense to me. Button is secondary. Again, if you're a user of client first, that makes perfect sense. Nothing new there. Text link on accent primary, I don't really understand that. That's probably a skill issue. And then this one here. So this is a utility class for flex, horizontal, and then adding this combo for gap medium. That makes perfect sense. I see how they're using that, and that would be super useful. Then we have section is secondary. Again, very similar to client first in that regard. Again, it says they use t-shirt sizing, which I read that. I'm like, what is t-shirt sizing? But it's just like XX small, X small, small, blah, blah, blah. That's the same thing client first uses, as you probably know if you're watching this video. And so again, that makes perfect sense. Icon is XX small, text underscore medium, radius underscore X large. That is all well and good. Okay, so now these surface modifiers things. I read that, I have literally no idea what that means. Following surface modifiers are used across button, text, nav, icon, and card components. They follow on surface name structure and appear in combinations for alternate background styling. All right, I'm gonna stop thinking about what that means. I'm just gonna read these examples and hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense to me. Okay, so button is secondary on accent primary. Text link on accent secondary. Honestly, okay, these two I can understand. Primary and secondary. So card link on primary, card link on secondary. Let's say you have like a background that is black and that's your primary background, and then a white background, that's your secondary background. You have your card links, and then you use this on for the purpose of saying like, hey, this is on my black primary background, so make the text link white. That makes perfect sense to me. This on inverse, on accent tertiary, secondary, primary, might just be a skill issue. I don't understand what it means. And then finally, we have animation modifiers. I don't know if there's anything like this in client first, but I think it's a great idea. So you would use like, let's say IX scroll in or something like that, and then you would apply the animation to the entire, anywhere that's using that. So you can just use that globally across your whole site, and it will add the animation. So that's the bottom of this documentation page, this introduction page, which is all we're going to look at today. We're going to get into actually trying to use it now, taking a look at the style guide and going into Webflow, because that's how I learn best. Off the bat, I will say this clearly uses more utility classes, but it doesn't feel so foreign to me as a client first user, which is great. So now let's head on over here. And like I said, I can't find a single starter project, like at all. So what I'm using is this AI generated site that I made in last week's episode as my starter. So we have our entire style guide and everything like that here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the page that was made with AI just to understand a little bit more like how it's actually used before I go ahead and try to build it on my own. So first things first, the structure here, we just have section, 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 section. I'm not a big fan of that, but at the same time, Webflow's got a new feature where I can just go ahead and write like hero, and then I can go down, write like logos and all that stuff. It would be great to see Webflow add this naming into their like AI builder, maybe, I don't know. So anyways, you can rename that, so it's really not a big problem. It's actually better because we're not making a brand new class for every single section. You just use the same class, and presumably you add like some sort of combos for the background or something like that. Let's see what like the logo section. Yeah, section is secondary. So again, that makes total sense. Looking at the hero here, we have this IX hero intro downscale 3D. Okay, so that's clearly an animation of sorts. I'm gonna disregard that one. Anyways, we have hero, then we have a div with an animation applied. Then we have a container, and in here we have more like IX, a bunch of nested ones. This is nothing against Flowkit. This is probably just the AI, what it did. Like a lot of divs. Very confusing. Again, I'm gonna blame this one on Webflow's AI site builder rather than Flowkit itself. Then we have max width large. So what I would do in client first is like, section underscore hero, and then I would do the padding classes, and then I would do container medium, container large, and then I would have my content. So here we have max width large, image ratio, so we are using a lot more utility classes here, and then image cover, which I guess is its own. It says there's 41 on other pages. Oh, this is a utility class to set the image to cover, I suppose. Yeah, fit cover. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Then in here, we have like heading H1, text align center, margin bottom large. Okay, so this is done, like spacing is done through combo classes, which a lot of people prefer that. I, for one, literally use the spacer divs in client first. I have been roasted for this numerous times. Feel free to roast me again for it in the comments. I just like them. I can see them. It's easy for me to add. Now, someone's probably gonna come and say to me like, oh, well, that adds a lot more space to the DOM. I don't think a few div blocks is really gonna put that much load on your computer. I don't know, hot take, I like spacer divs. But I know most people in the Webflow community would much, much, much rather this like combo class action. The other reason I don't like it is because let's say now I wanna edit my heading H1, which in this case, how often would you really have to do that? If you could just click and edit your heading H1, that would be wonderful. Like in Bricks Builder, the WordPress page builder, which I'm a big fan of, you can just click it and then you can edit that class. With Webflow, no. With Webflow, I would now have to take a look at this, go and remove margin bottom large, text align center. Now I can edit my heading H1. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna break the variables here. So, anyways, H1 weight, whatever. I don't even remember the class that I used. Okay, it's these ones because they already exist, so fine. That's what I really don't like with Webflow and why I just use spacer divs and kind of try to avoid combo classes where necessary. This is personal preference. My goal is to walk you through my process as I'm taking a look at this. You can judge things on your own. You know, you're probably smarter than me when it comes to spacers. But anyways, moving on, let's take a look at some more sections and see how they're built so that we can then move on and do something on our own. All right, so here we have the logos container and we have section is secondary, perfectly fine. We have container, and I guess there's just one fixed container width, which is set through variables. Then we have this here, okay, flex horizontal is wrap, gap medium is X center. So this is kind of how like Tailwind works, for example, where you would just add like a whole bunch of classes to your HTML, and then those are all utility classes that pull in and make it do something. Then here we have logo, and then we have these SVGs with their paths. Okay, so this is pretty similar, honestly. I mean, we have the section, there's a lot less nested HTML. Forget whatever I said about this like crazy IX, because that is just Webflow's AI site builder's fault. That's not Flowkit's fault. There is not a lot of nested HTML here. This is way less HTML than what I would probably use building with client first. Like if I was building with client first, this would look more like logos, then it would be like padding global, then it would be padding section medium, then it would be container medium, container large, whatever. And then in that I would have like logo wrap, and then I would have my logo. So this is lighter on the DOM. I will definitely give it that. So let's go ahead and try to actually build something now with Flowkit, and we're gonna see how it goes. So I'm just gonna call this like new page 2. Actually, I'm just gonna call it new page. There's no new page 1, so why do we need new page 2? All right, so we have that, and there's no like page structure defined, you know, like with client first, you need to have this global styles component and page wrapper and main wrapper. You don't have that with Flowkit as far as I can see. So literally just section, and then in that I would add the section class. Beautiful. And then within that, I guess I can just add the container class. I'm gonna add a container, and I'm gonna add the container class to it. Here's the thing, it seems like it's touching the sides. How did they fix that on the homepage? Container, okay, its container is small, so I guess I need to add that combo class. Let's go ahead and do that. Container is small. Okay, I think so, but I'm not sure how this would work now if it gets on like, see now it's still touching the edge. I need to figure out how to fix that. But anyways, container small. Okay, let's go ahead and add a heading. In that, we'll do an H1. And how do they do their H1s? I guess heading H1. Yeah, okay. So heading H1, now I want to center this. So I'm just gonna find like center, that text align center class. Say this is my page built with Flowkit. Cool, all right. Now below that, I want to add a paragraph. And all right, where are the paragraphs? Okay, so paragraphs, not like P or anything, it's just paragraph. Let's do paragraph large, nice, okay. How would I set a max width to this? Max width, beautiful. Max width, medium, let's say. How do I align this center? Flex align, no, that's not flex. What about this? Maybe this would be flex align center. Then it would, no. Okay, back to the homepage to see how they figured out how to align things center. Okay, these are not centered. What is centered? Margin horizontal auto. Okay. I suppose I could also just make like a custom, you know, like container is hero, but I'm trying to do the Flowkit way, not the client first way. The client first way is what I would do. So with this, let's find that like horizontal auto, margin horizontal auto. Okay, great. And then this, we should probably add that too. Margin horizontal auto, excellent. Okay, so we have this now, and now let's say I want to just add like a button group. I'm assuming there's a button group class. Yep, button group. And then within that, I'm gonna add button, 2 buttons. This one's just gonna be button, and then this one's gonna be like button is secondary. Button is secondary. Great, and then this, I think I can do the flex align center. Flex align center. Nope. Do I just not understand how flex boxes work? Because this flex align center class is not like going my way at all. Is align center. Okay, well, there's already a combo class for that, so I don't need to know. Beautiful. All right, so let's just say like sign up and log in over here. Excellent, love it. And then let's say below that, I want to build like some sort of tab section. Let's go with that, and then I think that should be good, because I kind of blew through this one. Anyone who knows Flowkit better than I do, let me know if I made any mistakes here. I mean, I literally just used utility classes, so I don't see how I would have made any mistakes, but anyways, let me know. So this is pretty good. One other thing I want to do is like color. I want to actually make this text color. Yeah, I want to make it like a gray, so that looks good. Okay, now let's make actually first thing I'm going to do is just call this like hero up here for my own organization purposes. And then I'm going to add in a section. I'm going to call this section, as all the sections are called in Flowkit, which I'm a big fan of. And then we'll do is accent secondary. Sure. You know what? I was confused when reading the docs about all this like accent secondary tertiary stuff. So let's go ahead and use it and see what happens to us. So I'm going to probably spontaneously combust. Okay, tabs, and then I'm gonna do a container, and I'm gonna call this container. Again, we'll do is small. You know how this container right here, if I make this smaller, like how do you add padding on the inside? I don't know if my AI generated site actually did that. Let's go ahead and try to see if we can figure it out. Like if I go, there is some padding. As you can see, like it's not completely touching the edge. Padding, container, padding, horizontal. Oh, the padding is inside the container. That makes sense. So this, yeah, container padding horizontal. Okay, all right, Flowkit, you're redeemed in my eyes. All right, anyways, tabs over here. We have our container. Now I'm gonna find a tabs section like so. And then I'm assuming they already have some preset classes for tabs. So tabs nav. Yeah, okay, and then these are tab links, so let's go ahead and find that. Tab, nope, okay, so I'm gonna make one. Tabs link, let's go ahead and call it, and then let's make it a transparent background. I do not use variables nearly enough. Honestly, like that's probably not a good thing. Okay, so we have tabs link here, and then in the spirit of Flowkit, let's go ahead, and I think there's like an on class, like on accent second, text color on accent second. Yeah, oh, look at me figuring out Flowkit. Okay, now let's go ahead and add this. Tabs link, text on color accent secondary. Yes, again, tabs link. When did this recently modified classes menu pop up? Look at this. Recently modified, I love that. I have no recollection of that being a thing. Okay, so then this, we need to override the current. I hope I'm not going against Flowkit right now with that. Transparent, and now I need to add this right here. And what I'm gonna do actually, again, this is why I don't like utility classes in Webflow personally, is I wanna make it so this is like bold now. Let's do bold, and then I'm gonna add this one. And then let's go ahead and check out our tabs menu and see how it is. So this one's currently active. Now this one's active. Okay. Okay, one other thing I'm gonna do is add a border on the bottom. What I guess I would do is on tabs link, I'm gonna add a border. Let's just say like 2 pixels. And I'm gonna leave that color for now, because what I think I would then do is for this text color on secondary with current applied, I would now just change the color to white. So now if I was hypothetically to remove that, yeah, okay, beautiful. All right, so here's our tabs menu. Not great, not terrible. Let's go ahead and set them to actually expand. So again, this is why I personally, again, this is all me. A lot of people love utility classes in Webflow. I'm a bit skeptical. But I think that's a me problem. I don't think that's a you problem. If you see me getting frustrated with utility classes, that's my fault. That's me. I'm just bad. You're better than me. Okay, so anyways, let's set these to expand and let's set these to text center. There we go. Okay, I'm liking my tabs a lot more now. Now in here, I've been told that we're using better grids in Flowkit. Again, in client first, my idea with grids is just like, this would be like tabs underscore content dash grid. What do you want from me, you know? But Flowkit has a better way of doing it. Grid to call, that makes perfect sense to me. And then I think there's like gap, yeah, gap large. That's beautiful. Now I'm gonna add a div in there. And this one, I don't know if I need to add a class to it. Okay, so within there, I'm gonna add a H2, I'm gonna add a paragraph, and I'm gonna add a button. Now I'm gonna add my classes to it. Button, we've got paragraph. Okay, so this is automatically set to the right color because of the section. That's pretty good. Then heading 2 right here, there is an H2 class, which will match the rest of my site. Now, how do I add margin below this? Let's see. Margin bottom medium, base margin. Okay, that did work. That's small. Why is that so small? Okay, let's do a bigger one. Margin. Let's just do X large. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong here, but whatever. Let's forget about that margin for now. Let's just assume this is good enough. Yeah, you know what I would do? Spacer X small. I know I just triggered a bunch of people, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And right here, I'm gonna put an image. Let's go ahead and find some funky image that we've got. And then I wanna add a radius to this right here. So I assume there's a class for that, radius small, let's say. Radius X large. Yeah, that's good. All right, now this right here, how would I center, like vertically center it? One thing I'm not a fan of with the automatic margin applied above here, I don't like that. I like how in client first, that's not a thing. It's like fully removed. All right, yeah, well, that might be getting a bit too advanced for a first look video. Now, if I look, for example, this one is good, but and what I want to try to do is make this smaller. So I wonder if I can do like mobile. Let me look at the framework documentation here again and find that like mobile part, combo classes. I guess I would do like size underscore small underscore mobile, something like that. Size, you shouldn't make it here. I should make it like in the style guide. Again, why I don't like utility classes in Webflow, but size small mobile, I suppose. And then I could set this to be H1 size right here. I'm just gonna break it off. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. Okay, now we have that. So that's responsive. This is already responsive by default. Yeah, okay. So we've managed to build something here with Flowkit. And what are my first thoughts? Well, my first thoughts are, you know, I've been using client first for years, and to use anything else just feels like scary to me because I'm just so used to client first. But my thoughts on Flowkit are, this is a much more standard, like this is how you would when you're just writing CSS, much closer to how you would write CSS. It's also lightweight, so there's a lot less combo classes and there's a lot less nested divs. Like from a technical point of view, I would say that this is definitely better than client first. Now, what I don't like about it is, what I think is so good about client first is the, let's say, Webflow developer experience. The fact that I feel like client first is very understanding of the fact that, you know, Webflow isn't HTML. I mean, it is, but it's not. Like, you do it differently. I can't just click and edit container. So client first uses a lot of combo classes. And for me, for the developer experience, it works a lot better. What I'm gonna say to finish off this video is that for me personally, I'm mostly building sites for us here internally at MemberStack where we're using it. The developer experience works for us. No one is going in and making sure it's perfectly optimized. We're totally fine with it. So am I going to use Flowkit? Not immediately. I'm going to stick to client first for now. I'm going to keep an eye on Flowkit. I've heard some really cool things are coming out with it very soon. So I'm definitely going to have an eye, and I am definitely open to switching. But if you are a freelancer, an agency owner, or something like that, and you're trying to build the best sites for your clients, just the most high quality, well done sites, I will say that from a technical point of view, Flowkit is better. So if you're trying to optimize your sites as good as you can for your clients, well, using Flowkit is immediately going to make your sites better and more well optimized. Are they going to notice that? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Like I said, a couple divs is really not going to make a noticeable difference, like the way it feels for a person to use it. It's not the same. You are building a better, more optimized, more lightweight site with Flowkit than you would be with client first. So I would say keep your eye open, go try it out just like I did here. I hope I introduced something to you because, again, I had no idea Webflow had their own class naming framework. And that's it for this video. So I'll see you in the next one. Let me know if this helps you. Let me know if you want to see me try out like Mast and Lumos. I've been scared of those for a long time. And yeah, that's it. All right, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.